have our usual presentation now, which is a new part of the show. And this is a good one. So
Mm-hmm.
Jen's going to read the first piece. Okay.
There was a time when kings and generals would fall on their sword when they were defeated, or when their faith in their gods collapsed. Nowadays, so called leaders assuming opportunistic positions betray the defense of their own people and nature, protecting or advancing their own careers. The voices of climate scientists have become subdued, ignored, or non existent. There may be there may be too many historians to document the 20th and 21st century crimes against humanity and against nature. And this is from Andrew Glickman, right?
Yeah, Glickson. Andrew Glickson.
Glickson, is that
Yep.
his name?
Yep.
Glickson?
And
Okay.
so, because of Andrew Glickson, we
Oh,
definitely decided we were going to bring you this guy.
oh,
Oh my God.
oh,
Oh my God. Let me
oh.
make sure
What
that
have we here,
we
Sandy?
have, we have, we have us a science, a CO2 denier, actually. We
Oh,
do.
really?
Oh, we do. We do. We have a guy that some of you know.
The climate right now is no warmer than it's been many times throughout history. Our baseline is now the lowest that carbon dioxide has been in 600 million years. As far as temperature change, the IPCC's first report of 1992 showed that the medieval warm period was warmer than the present. Well, this didn't fit the narrative, so by the time the 1996 report came out, it was a completely contrived graph called the hockey stick. So what they did was they got rid of the medieval warm period and the little ice age, and so instead of the graph doing this, they flattened it out, and then they added instrumental record on the end that looks like it's going way up. The point is that the people that are calling them out on it are not getting the media coverage. You know, because look, at this point there's billions of dollars going into the whole climate change narrative.
So yeah, this guy.
Wow.
And I just have a little piece, if I can pull it up, oh, that's not it. Hang on a second, guys. I had a piece. Oh yeah, there it is. So if you're interested, there is an article about him, Randall Carson. And some people have tried to tell me that he's wonderful. How to deny the climate crisis like a pro and get away with it. We're not going to read it. It'll be in the show notes, but the dude is definitely, well,
He sounds so convincing. It's
he's a
like he kind of
gaslighting
throws you
bullshitter.
off. It's like, wait, did I miss something? Is he right? Is this like what? It's
No,
that convincing when you
no. And he's not a
yeah.
geologist either. He's
Okay.
not. So that takes me to this. It's 100 degrees in here, and we ain't got no electricity. But at least we're safe from trannies and drag shows. Oh, God bless Governor Abbott. God bless Governor Abbott. Oh, we just love Governor Abbott. Yes, we do. Yes. And God has spoken.
And
And
God has
now,
spoken.
yeah, and now that God has spoken, we're going to hear from this dude.
Can I point out that there are a lot of headlines right now about how hot it is outside? I know. It's hot outside. You know what I can do about that? Zero things. Thank God we have this thing called air conditioning. It's awesome. You know, it's a great cure for being super duper hot outside? Being a first world country. Amazing. It works out tremendously well because it turns out that if you have a really solid energy grid and you have the capacity to turn on that AC, you're living quite comfortably these days. You know what sucks? Global poverty. You know what brings global poverty? Decarbonization. Let me also point out that the media always do this routine when it's very, very hot outside. They never, ever cover it when it's cold. So it's funny. The media will say, well, you know, it's not global warming, it's now climate change. And the reason they changed the term from global warming to climate change is because the climate, in many cases, is colder during the winters than it was before. So it's hotter during the summers and it's colder during the winters. They've called this climate weirding, but that doesn't really seem to go over all that way. So now they call it climate change, which of course is an incredibly vague term because the climate is always changing. However, it is worth noting at this point that all of this, folks, millions will die of the heat waves that are occurring on planet. Oh my God, the ocean is so hot during the summer in Florida. Okay, so first of all, it is hot this summer in Florida. Also, it's hot like every summer in Florida. You've been to Florida? It's really, really hot and humid. Like, I noticed when I first visited here several years ago, and we moved anyway because air conditioning exists.
My God.
That guy's really offensive.
But yeah, he's a turd. He's a right-wing turd.
Yeah.
He is, and he's embarrassing. But Jen, talk about this, and then he can go
Well,
fuck
yeah.
himself.
Yeah, guys, so this is a sea surface temperature anomaly map, and check it out. It's pretty interesting. This July has been notable. We are cutting through absolutely new territory. This is from July 19th, so 2 days ago. And look how anomalously hot it is off the tip of like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. And look how anomalously cold the sea surface temperature is around Greenland. It looks like a little puddle, right? That really looks like a little puddle. And that's what it is because it's all that sea ice melt that's coming right off the ice sheet in Greenland pouring into the sea and making the sea colder than usual. So interesting to see what's happening here. It is just a blister of heat. And then if you look over at the west coast of South America, you will see the El Nino there, right? Do you see the El Nino over there? It's like just coming in on the west coast where Peru is. And that El Nino is a stripe of red hot heat, anomalously hot water coming over all the way on the Pacific Ocean from the Philippines. Also, one other thing I'd like to point out, check out the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is anomalously hot. It's like a bathwater. And that also coincides with in Tunis, in Tunisia, right on the tip of Africa, sticking into the heat of the Mediterranean, right on the tip of North Africa there. And that whole area is anomalously hot. So this is just a pictorial of where the heat is concentrating in the water areas of our globe.
It is. That it is. And we have to move on to show you what's happening because of it. Because of it. Gene, you're here. This is Texas. This is what happened in Texas. Fish are dying. The sea is hot. It's horrible. Nobody talks about it. They act like this is normal. Look at that. Yep. It's just the beginning. Yeah, so that happened in Texas.
Sad.
It's really sad, but you don't hear that much about this stuff. You really don't. And of course, in Texas, they're probably, I'm sure it's denial, denial, denial. All right. So we're gonna, but denial with a big D, Jen. All right. We're going to move on a little bit. And we have Jeff Goodell to entertain us for a moment. And he's going to talk about this.
So I moved to Texas 4 or 5 years ago. And I had lived in the Northeast, and it was really eye-opening moving here because Texas really is the belly of the beast when it comes to both the energy transformation and the impacts of climate change. This is a state that was, built around fossil fuels. There's tremendous riches here as a result of our dependence upon fossil fuels. There's tremendous sort of economic and cultural inertia around oil and gas in this state, and you feel it everywhere you go here. But it's also the state where this transformation towards clean energy is happening very quickly. We had, an extreme heat dome in the last couple of weeks here. There was a lot of concern about the grid going down, and the grid was okay, and largely because of 25% of the power that was going onto the grid during this extreme heat wave was from solar power, which performs very well in hot weather and is not only more reliable but cheaper. And so we have these, Texas is making this sort of transformation to a cleaner grid. The problem, of course, is it is not happening fast enough. And in Texas, you feel the changing of our climate in a very dramatic way. You know, there's the risks of sea level rise in Houston. There's a $30 billion Ike Dike that's beginning to be constructed to protect the petrochemical industry and the Houston shipping channel there. There's the heat waves that we've been suffering through in the last few weeks. There's, you know, water shortages as part of my reporting. I was in the Rio Grande Valley, one of the most productive agricultural regions in the country, and, you know, the Rio Grande is drawing to a trickle there. And so, you know, there's these cascading consequences here where you're feeling the world changing beneath our feet, and yet the kind of politics and culture of this place are lagging far behind those changes.
Jeff, we've been talking about this for, well, since it was enacted, but as the deadly heat wave grips Texas, where you are, Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill eliminating mandatory water breaks for construction workers. I want to play a clip of Ana Gonzalez, the Texas AFL-CIO Deputy Director of Policy and Politics.
Texas is the deadliest state when it comes to construction. One worker dies every 3 days in our state. In fact, more workers die of heat-related illnesses in our state than any other state.
This is the mayor of the Petro Metro, that's Houston, Sylvester Turner, who warned the bill would have devastating consequences for people working outdoors.
If House Bill 2127 is allowed to stand, and it prevents municipal units of government from saying to employers that under extreme weather conditions like heat, that you can't be mandated to provide water breaks, then can you imagine the number of workers who are out there in the heat, construction workers, people working on buildings, developments, you name it, that are going to face heat strokes. Some people will even possibly lose their lives because they're working in very dangerous conditions. This bill is totally insensitive. It goes contrary to the health and well-being and welfare of workers who are out there doing, working under conditions that many, if not most folk, would dare not work under.
I mean, that's the Houston Mayor Turner. Jeff, he was talking about the bill, hoping it wouldn't be passed. It has been passed and is going to soon go into effect.
Yeah, it is. And you know, Mayor Turner called it insensitive, and I would say that's a gross understatement. It's barbaric. I mean, I live here. I see what it's like working outside. I see these workers building, you know, the buildings that are going up here in Austin. Austin's a boom town, and there's construction everywhere. And, you know, it's hard for me during these heat waves to walk to my mailbox to check the mail. The idea that, you know, you're working on a rooftop or laying asphalt outside in this heat, and it's you're forbidden from taking water and shade breaks. I mean, it's just like back to, you know, kind of Sinclair Lewis's The Jungle. I mean, I don't know how to explain this other than to talk about, you know, a kind of, you know, there's a kind of racism to this. You know, the many of the workers here that are keeping the state going are Mexican. They're coming across the border. They're work incredibly hard. You know, it's just, you know, a kind of politics that's rising here in Texas that I have no kind of good moral explanation for how this can be justified in any way. And in my book, I write about the death of an agricultural worker named Sebastian Perez, not in Texas, but in Oregon, who died in the fields because he was afraid that if he took a water break and a shade break, he would lose his job. And so this kind of this law that the governor, this legislation that the governor has signed, is going to directly result in the deaths of many Texans.
And I hope many lawsuits against Texas. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, Texas is a pretty tough place to live. And
Yeah.
of course, they're one of the centers of climate denial as well, politically anyway.
Well,
You know?
Poppy Davis is here with us, and she got out. And Anthony Davis, no relation. Anthony lives there, and he does suffer there, living there, and he tells us about it. Anthony, hi. We're hoping you're feeling better, by the way. You know. All right, guys. Now we're gonna move over to something. Put your seatbelts on for this one.
What's this?
Oh, yeah.
South Korea?
All over.
Like this house in Karatsu City, landslides have blocked roads.
Canada is on track. The country's been battling what experts believe is the most severe wildfire season.
Pretty hairy, huh? Scary.
That person just fell off their car into the water. Shit.
Oh, yeah. USA has a big scared. Vermont.
That is wild.
Look at that. India. Everywhere.
ये है छोटा हरिद्वार सब अपनी बाइक
It just makes
Oh
me.
my God.
It just makes me want to cry. Well, I do cry. I mean, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I cry, and making these shows is not easy, you know. And
No.
I do cry, but it's therapeutic. It's cathartic. Now we
Yeah.
take a breath and we move on and we talk about this.
So this is kind of an interesting overview of the different cities around the world alphabetically. So we're talking about Athens, Bangkok, Barcelona, Beijing, Hong Kong, Calcutta, Kuala Lumpur, London, Madrid, Marseille, Miami, Mumbai, Paris, Rome, and Rangoon. So all of them, if you look on the, I guess, right-hand side where it's red, that is where it is changing. So what we're doing here is we're tracking change. And the change is the additional red that you see. So this is how it is in each one of these cities. And some of the cities are like more extreme changing than others. Some of the cities have bigger ranges than others. But in all cases, what's notable is the trend, and the trend is the expansion over on the x-axis to the right. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing climate change trends in action.
Yep.
So this is compared to the 1950s. So this is like 70 years ago, it was like this.
Yeah.
Now, and that's one human lifetime, right? And now, one human lifetime, it's like this.
Yeah.
And this trend, unfortunately, doesn't show any slowing at all. It's not slowing down at all. It's going to be increasing, and this is kind of the first nudge into each city's own new trends, which will be warmer. So we're looking at a warmer future in all cities.
Oh, yeah. And that, my friends, takes us to Costa Rica. Jean, you were talking about this in the chat. This is a tragedy. A tragedy.
God.
Yeah, let's look at it one more time. Look at that. All bleaching. And I'm sorry, it's where you are, Jean, in paradise. Okay, take it away, Jen.
Right. So, guys, we're looking at the global sea ice extent anomaly, and we've got our kind of zero right there in the middle. You can kind of see it, I think. Am I reading that right? So, I guess at the top. Can't see it very well, guys. But the point is, we are 2023, the blue. And the main point to understand here, do you see that slight shading there? It's kind of like a light blue, almost touching our line, right? The light, even the lightest blue, yeah. That is the 5th standard deviation. That means that we are well outside here in 2023, pretty much ever since June started. Do you see in June, we dropped out of the 5th standard deviation, and we are really actually technically cutting our own track right now. So we'll have to see how this year ends up. But this is where we are in late July.
With the global sea ice. Yep.
Global sea ice extent.
Yes.
Yeah, so global sea ice. So this is all the sea ice in around Antarctica and in the Arctic. So that's the sea ice pretty much that's left. So that is what we're looking at. And you can just see that the sea ice is going away.
It's going.
Yeah, so those are standard deviations. Yes. You can kind of see.
And then we have our friend Elliot, Professor Elliot, who made this one. And this is the global sea surface temperature. And we were showing this. And
yeah. Well, you guys can remember back in the very beginning of July when the sheer panic hit everybody when the sea surface temperature started to go crazy. And this is what we're showing, that first wave right there in Elliot's chart. That was when, I think that's also when Elliot published his sea surface temperature chart, and it was picked up, by the New York Times.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was.
It was picked up by everybody.
It's what started my depression.
No kidding, right?
It did. The sea surface, the sea temperature. Yes.
Yeah. So you can see it bouncing. So it kind of went down a little bit, and now it's going back up. So it's kind of like got a bit of a pattern. And it's pretty interesting.
I wonder, Jen, when it was low, if that was the older water somehow. If I don't know, we'd have to ask Jim if storms have anything to do with any of the water, coming up and down through the columns. I don't know, but it.
Well, the thing of it is, this is a global surface temperature anomaly. So this is an average for the entire world. So it's hard to say.
It's hard to
all
say
the different things that might influence it, because it's going to be more like global trends and things like that.
Pretty heavy. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Oh.
And here we go. We're moving on to India.
बड़ी हाल है भाई वाह बड़ी कभी नहीं हाली हाँ मुझे लगा रहा अभी बड़ी दादी देगी ए गाँव में देख
It's an animal. Buffalo. Buffalo. My God.
Oh my God. The animals. The animals are just it's just there's no words to know the suffering,
Yeah.
the suffering in the wildlife community, wildlife, farm animals.
So what we are seeing here is air temperature at 2 meters all over the whole world, whether it be sea or land. And it's notable, you can kind of trace the path of the El Nino. You can see that track making its way across the Pacific and slamming right into South America there, Peru, right through the Galapagos Islands there. Boom. You know,
Boom.
so that's the El Nino, and it is affecting everything. Where's some really big hotspots? Surprisingly, take a look at Antarctica there, Sandy. There's that red blister down there. That is a pretty big anomaly down in Antarctica, and that is in West Antarctica, kind of around the peninsula on either side. So it looks like Antarctica is getting surrounded by abnormally warm water, probably on either side, and it's going to be causing heating. And it's also going to be causing melting, and you can see evidence of that melting right next door to it. If you look at the Antarctica kind of like blister, and then look at all that blue on the tail of West Antarctica, and that is evidence right there of melting ice. You can see all that dark blue is the melting ice that's happening from the deep red, right? So, you know, it's a pretty grim picture. There's a lot of anomalies, and there's a lot of patterns. And interestingly enough, if you look at that blue in Antarctica again, Sandy, and in West Antarctica, see how it kind of even travels up from the blue into light blue by South America. So it's affecting the global climate. There's enough cold water going into the central one ocean, right? The ocean that surrounds Antarctica, and it's actually coloring that whole region because there's so much ice coming off of the ice sheet, and it's melting into the water, and you can see it puddling. That's the melted ice. You can see the melted ice in East Antarctica too, coming off
and
of the top, especially around the Totten Glacier. So the Totten Glacier, it's on the very right lower side. There's a deep blue right there on the very lower right side of East Antarctica
I don't
there.
know if you can see my arrow anymore.
No, but I bet everybody can see it. That is the Totten Glacier right there melting. And East Antarctica is melting at record pace too. So you can see like these plumes of blue coloring the water, and it's actually going all the way up to Cape Town in South Africa. That's amazing. Antarctic's cooler water is going all the way to Cape Town in South Africa. That's amazing. God. So interesting. Pictures tell 1,000 words, don't they, guys?
Yes, and so do these. This was a hurricane in Italy. This is recent. What I get scared of all the time here. I don't want to go out tornado. Look at that. Yeah, we're going around the world today. Yeah, that's unreal. And here we move to the tropics. Jen, if you want to talk about this.
Again, so we are looking at the tropics in general, and each one of these gray lines, of course, is a year. And it looks like no matter what type of measurement we are looking at, what kind of graph we are looking at, if it is a multi-year graph, it is outside the standard deviation. So look at the dotted line on either side This is the standard deviation, and we are not in it. 2023 is the black, and it's well outside. And again, since July, cutting its own track. It was kind of portending to that in June. You can see it was sort of flirting with going outside, and it did go outside in June. But in July, it's not even like following the same pattern. It's like somewhere else.
Wow.
So no matter what you look at, you're looking at things outside the norm.
Everything's, yeah. But we're not going to say the new normal. It's Abby normal.
It's Abby normal.
Abby normal.
Abby
yeah,
normal.
It's Abby normal. Abby normal. And let's go to China. Yep, there's China. And this you sent me, Dr. Matthew Barlow.
Yes, this is 30 days of sea surface temperature anomaly in the North Atlantic. So check it out. This is the freaking roasting of the North Atlantic. Look how suddenly it just goes to the highest possible abnormal. So that indicates it's well outside the norm of anything. It's so bizarre. Oh my God.
It is. It's quite bizarre. Quite bizarre. And we move on. Now this is really bizarre because this is Italy. This hail storm. This is hail, guys.
Sembra che ci sia il fiume, un fiume che scorre. Adesso vedo che c'è lì quello delle scarpe davanti che gli sta entrando l'acqua dentro il negozio.
Wow. I mean, that was like when I saw those, and there were more of the hail like that. It was shocking. It was shocking what people are living through. And here we're going to move on a little bit more in Antarctica, but we've got a whole thing on this. We're going to teach you, give you some tools here tonight. This is the SCAR site. You'll see it all. We just wanted to show you what it looks like in Antarctica. But there's more until we move on to good old Zagreb. Go for it, Jennifer.
Oh my God. So we are looking at here at the sea ice thickness in the Arctic. And each line is a year. You guys know the drill. So we are not at the lowest sea ice thickness that we've ever been, but it kind of bounces. So you can kind of see it's going down, down, down. Then it kind of goes up a little bit. And then right now we're in that kind of going, you know, it's kind of that back and forth before it goes boom again, you know.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel it. It like goes, ear. It's like being on a swing, right?
I wish I had that sound effect. I don't have that sound effect, but yeah. Well, so you know, hey, should we enjoy ourselves?
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. Let's just you know, we're dead men walking, but we can certainly have a drink.
Everything's fine. Don't worry about a thing, baby.
All right, now we have a little treat. This is from a follower who is also our Facebook friend who's from Norway. I think you guys might really like this. It's really, really cute. Yeah. And the story is he did a little karaoke. He sent it on his Facebook. He put it on his Facebook, and I said to him, oh, could you do something, sing for me for the show, do something with me with a video. Well, he sent me this. He did this 11 years ago. So enjoy. It's cute.
The ice is melting, the forest dies. What do I care? I just come up with a brilliant plan. The ocean rising in a sea of lies, more than we can bear. But I ain't gonna give a damn. I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the universe. 'Cause space is so very big, lots of places where you and I can live. Real estate brokers gonna find new markets there. Do I need air conditioning in the Venus air?
In the Doomosphere.
I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the universe. CO2 is emitted out and the algae starts. Soon we're gonna suffer everyone. Like a blind driving to hell thinking this must be paradise. That just fresh out fear and doubt. I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the universe. If you want to tag along,
2011, Devon.
I don't know exactly where we're gonna be, so I better call up soon my real estate broker guy. Was it Venus or Mars? It's Pluto, the ultimate high. I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the universe. Zapoopa, kita poopa doo da boo da doo. Zapoopa boo, zapoopa ba da poopa ba doo da doo. Zapapoo, zapapoo, zapoo ba boo da doo da doo. Zapoopa to zakuda, zakuda da boo da doo da da. Almost 4 billion years has the earth been full of life, but the fun is gonna end very soon. But I'm gonna go on a mission to Mars and start an ecological farm and grow carrots there and sing how high the moon. So I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the universe. It's really a foolproof plan, you'll see. On a new planet, can I buy my own country? And my alien wife will have 10 breasts at their peak, and 7 vaginas, one for every day of the week. I'm gonna move from planet Earth, find a cool place somewhere in the uni-place, somewhere in the uni-place, somewhere in the universe.
I loved it, loved it, loved it. And that is our slideshow for tonight.